welcome back for another deep dive. You
Wow.
ready to get into it?
Oh, yeah,
Today, we are tackling something that I think a lot of people out there have probably encountered at some point in their careers.
definitely.
We're going to be talking about toxic leadership,
Yeah.
but specifically, we're going to be looking at mistakes people make when dealing with toxic leaders.
Right.
And we're going to really kind of try to unpack and understand those common mistakes
Yeah.
that people make when they're trying to work with a boss who maybe isn't exactly the best leader.
Right.
So I think that the source material that we have today really compares dealing with a toxic leader to navigating a labyrinth.
Yeah. That's a really good analogy.
You know, it really is.
What do you think about that analogy?
Well, because you think you're on the right path. You know, you're like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to talk to them this way. And then bam, you run to a wall. You're like, what just happened there?
Yeah.
There are all these hidden pitfalls that can trip you up. Yeah, you think you're making progress, and then you realize you just went 3 steps backwards.
Totally.
So with that in mind, what would you say is the first mistake that people often make when they find themselves in this situation with a toxic leader?
Well, it's funny because it's something that you might not even realize is a mistake,
Okay.
and that's gossiping.
Oh, come on. Now everybody gossips.
I know.
That's like a workplace ritual.
It is. It's like water cooler talk, right?
Exactly. You've got to vent. You've got to let off some steam somehow.
Yeah. You think it's harmless, just blowing off steam?
Yeah.
But with a toxic leader, it can backfire?
Yeah. How so?
Well, especially if your boss has some narcissistic tendencies.
Okay.
They're very, very sensitive to anything that they think is threatening their authority.
So it's not even just about like being discreet. It's that they might even perceive
Exactly.
criticism as a challenge to their power.
And that's where this idea of narcissistic paranoia comes in.
Oh, wow.
It can be really intense.
So they're so obsessed with their image
Oh.
that they may actually see enemies everywhere.
Yeah, even in those like casual conversations.
Wow.
And you wouldn't believe how often just a regular conversation ends up being used against an employee later on down the road.
Wow. That's really scary.
Yeah,
So even if you think you're being careful, you could still be feeding into their system.
totally.
Okay, so lesson 1, don't gossip about your toxic boss.
Right, avoid that trap.
So what's another wrong turn in this labyrinth of toxic leadership?
Okay, so this one is tough because it actually comes from a good place.
Okay.
It's trying to reason with them.
Oh, yeah, I've done that.
Right.
You go in with your bullet points.
Your charts and graphs.
You're like, if I just lay it all out logically,
Right.
surely they will see the light.
Exactly. Yeah, you're thinking you're going to have this nice, productive dialogue.
Yeah.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
You're assuming that they want to be reasonable. And often they don't.
Okay.
And they don't because people with strong narcissistic tendencies see any type of confrontation as a huge threat.
So they're not going to get into that logical discussion with you.
Nope.
They're going to get defensive.
Yeah, their whole facade is built on maintaining control and superiority.
Oh, I see.
So they might just deny everything you're saying.
Oh, wow.
They may even try to twist things around to make you the problem.
Oh.
That's called gaslighting, by the way.
Right, yeah.
Have you heard of that?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a serious form of manipulation.
Whoa.
They might even launch a counterattack,
Oh.
accusing you of things you didn't even do.
So it's all about deflecting.
Exactly.
Okay, so you go in there with good intentions, trying to be logical,
Right.
and you end up being the bad guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Ouch. It can be rough. All right, so no gossiping, no confronting.
Right.
What are we left with?
Well, this is where we get to the third mistake,
Okay.
and that's complaining.
Well, yeah, what are you supposed to do if you can't gossip, if you can't confront?
Right.
Of course you're going to complain,
Yeah. It's a natural human response.
especially if you're feeling unheard or frustrated.
Of course.
So what's wrong with complaining?
Well, here's the thing. Those with strong narcissistic tendencies thrive on power dynamics.
Okay.
So when they hear you complaining, they don't see that as a plea for help.
Right.
What they see is confirmation of their power.
Oh.
The more you complain, the more you're actually reinforcing their sense of control over you.
So it's almost like feeding the beast.
Exactly.
Okay, so no gossiping, no confronting, no complaining.
It's tough, right?
It's tough. What are we supposed to do?
Well, this next one is really, really hard to avoid because it's so human.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
It's showing your emotions. Whether it's tears of frustration,
Oh, yeah.
anger at an injustice,
Yeah.
exhaustion, even all totally natural responses to a stressful situation.
Yeah, it seems almost impossible not to have an emotional reaction when you're dealing with someone who is just constantly undermining you or creating chaos around you.
Yeah. It can be really hard.
So what's the problem with that?
Well, the problem is that for a toxic leader, your emotional response is a tool. It's
Right.
something they can use to manipulate you.
Are you saying they actually look for these emotional responses?
Yeah, in a way.
Wow.
Because your anger, your sadness, your fear,
Yeah.
all of that reinforces their sense of control.
So they get a sense of satisfaction.
Yeah, it validates their tactics.
Wow. So we're not supposed to gossip. We're not supposed to confront. We're not supposed to complain. We're not supposed to show any emotion.
Right.
What are we supposed to be, robots?
I know it sounds impossible, right?
Yeah.
But there is another way.
What's that?
We've talked about all the mistakes of the dead ends in the maze.
Right. All the pitfalls.
Now we need to figure out how to get out of this labyrinth.
Okay. So we've got the problem. Now we need the solution.
Exactly.
I like it. Let's get to it.
All right,
Lead the way.
let's do it.
So we've talked about what not to do, but now let's talk about what we should do.
Right, like how do we actually deal with this? Because it's one thing to know the traps, but how do you actually get out of the labyrinth?
Yeah, like what are the tools that we need?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so what's the first thing on our survival guide?
All right, so the first one might sound a little strange.
Okay.
It's cultivate detachment.
Detachment.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
emotionally?
Yeah.
But how can you make any change or like even care if you're not emotionally invested?
That's a good point. It's not about not caring. It's about protecting yourself.
Okay.
Remember, these types of leaders, they really feed off those emotional reactions.
Oh, they want to see you get upset.
Exactly. They want to see you sweat. They want to know they're getting to you.
So if you don't react,
Right.
you're taking away their power.
You're taking away their fuel.
Okay, so it's not about suppressing your emotions entirely, but it's about being mindful about how and when you express them.
Exactly.
Okay, I like it.
It takes practice, though,
Yeah, I can imagine.
but it can be a really powerful tool.
Okay, so cultivate detachment. That's number one.
What's next?
What's next?
This one's super important,
Okay.
especially if you're dealing with somebody who likes to, change the story,
Yeah.
document everything,
Ooh, I like that. Keeping receipts.
keep receipts, write it all down.
But won't that make my boss suspicious if they find out?
Well, you have to be smart about it. You don't want to be like, oh, I'm documenting everything you're doing.
Right.
But it's not about trying to get them in trouble. It's about protecting yourself.
Okay.
If something happens and you need to show that there's a pattern of behavior,
Yeah.
you have that information.
Yeah, like a paper trail.
Exactly.
Okay, so document everything.
Document everything.
Check.
So what else can we do?
Yeah, what else?
Okay, so this one kind of goes with detachment.
Okay.
Professionalism.
Oh.
Always, no matter what, stay professional.
What if they're being completely unreasonable?
I know, it's tough.
I just have to like grin and bear it.
You don't have to grin and bear it, but you do have to remember that if you lose your cool, they win.
Oh, because then they can be like, oh, see, they're the problem.
Exactly. It
Above.
gives them more control.
So again, it's about taking the power back.
Right. It's about rising above and staying true to yourself.
Yeah, keeping your integrity.
Exactly.
All right, so I'm seeing a theme here. Detachment, documentation, professionalism.
Got it.
This is all about setting boundaries.
Yeah, and taking control back in these little ways.
Exactly. What else can we do?
This is the most important one.
Okay.
Prioritize your well-being.
Oh, that's so important.
Take care of yourself.
So easy to forget that when you're in survival mode.
Right, because you're just trying to get through the day.
Yeah.
But you have to remember, this is a battle for your mental and emotional health.
Oh, yeah.
So make sure you're sleeping enough.
Right.
Are you eating healthy?
Yeah. Are you moving your body?
Yeah. Are you exercising?
Getting some fresh air?
Yeah. Are
Yeah.
you doing things you enjoy outside of work?
It's all about recharging.
Exactly. You got to recharge those batteries.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to burn out.
Absolutely. So it's not just about being mentally tough. It's about making sure you're taking care of yourself physically and emotionally.
Absolutely. And don't forget about your support system.
Oh, yeah.
Talk to your friends,
It's your family.
your family, a therapist.
Yeah.
Sometimes just saying it out loud
Yeah.
can really help.
Yeah. It helps you realize that you're not alone.
Exactly. And you're not crazy.
Yeah.
It's a tough situation.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you ready for the last one?
Oh, yeah. Hit me with it.
This one can be hard to swallow,
Okay.
but it's often the best thing you can do.
Okay. I'm ready.
Have an escape route.
An escape route.
Yeah.
You mean like out of the office?
Not necessarily out of the office, but have a plan.
A plan.
Yeah.
Okay.
In case you need to remove yourself from the situation.
But what about my career?
Hmm.
Won't that look bad if I leave?
It's a valid worry, but sometimes it's the healthiest choice you can make.
Okay.
Your mental health is more important than any job.
Right.
And remember, leaving a toxic job doesn't mean you're giving up on your career.
Right. It's just one step.
It's one step and you might even find something better.
Yeah.
So just be prepared.
So it's about knowing when to walk away
Exactly.
and having that plan B, even if you don't have to use it.
Exactly. It gives you that feeling of control.
Yeah, like you have options.
Yeah.
This is great.
Yeah.
I feel like we've gone from feeling lost in the maze to actually having a map and a compass.
I like that. Yeah. It's like we're giving you the tools you need to navigate this tricky situation.
Exactly. And it's so empowering to have this knowledge.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah, to equip people with what they need.
Right. And remember, even when it feels really tough,
Yeah,
you have the strength to make it through.
you do. You do.
So we've talked about the mistakes to avoid and some strategies for surviving these toxic workplaces. But I want to go back to something you said earlier about toxic leaders being all about power and control.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not just about being a demanding boss. It's something deeper.
Right. It's like they're creating a whole system
Yeah.
to keep themselves on top. So what does that look like in a real workplace?
Well, it can be subtle,
Okay.
but once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Okay. Tell me more.
Well, one thing they might do is pit employees against each other.
Oh, yeah.
It's that old divide and conquer strategy.
Right. Create some drama.
Keep everybody busy fighting amongst themselves.
So they don't notice.
Exactly. And it also makes it really hard for people to come together and address the bigger problem, which is the leader themselves.
That's so sneaky.
Another thing to watch out for is a lack of transparency.
Oh, yeah. Information is power.
Right? Information is totally hoarded and only shared when it benefits the leader.
So you never really know what's going on.
It makes it very hard to challenge anything.
Yeah, you don't have the full picture.
And if something goes wrong,
Yeah.
guess what?
It's not their fault.
It's never their fault. They're masters of deflecting blame.
Oh, so there's always a scapegoat.
Always.
Oh, man, it must be so stressful.
It creates this constant tension. You never know who's going to be in trouble next.
So it sounds like we're right back to those survival strategies we talked about.
Yeah.
Detachment documentation, professionalism, prioritizing well-being, and having an escape route.
Exactly. Those are your tools.
But what if it's already really bad? Is there any way to actually, like, push back?
It's tough, but it's not impossible. The most important thing is to remember that knowledge is power.
Right?
Just by understanding these tactics, you're already a step ahead.
So we can start to recognize the manipulations.
Exactly. You can start to see things more clearly.
So it's like having that map of the labyrinth.
Exactly. You start to see the patterns. You can find those hidden paths that lead to the exit.
And remember, you're not alone.
Right. So many people experience this.
It's like finding your way out of the maze together.
Yeah, supporting each other along the way.
This has been such an insightful conversation. I feel like we've gone from feeling totally lost to having a real sense of clarity and direction.
I'm glad to hear that.
So as we wrap things up, what would you say is the most important takeaway for our listeners?
I think it's this. You are stronger than you think.
Hmm.
You have the power to make a better situation for yourself, even if it seems really... And sometimes the best thing you can do is walk away and find a place where you can thrive.
So powerful. And to everyone listening out there, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you learned some valuable insights today.
Remember, knowledge is your compass, resilience is your guide, and you have the power to create the career you want.
Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay empowered.